Greetings and welcome back once again. This is KAS 411 Midweek Inspiration, Motivation, and Educational Podcast that I bring to the community every couple of weeks in the month as far as that's concerned. I did take a little break there in July, so we're back at it right now. And today I have my very special guest and wonderful friend and associate, Jacqueline Moya. And she is going to talk to us today because she has been in the legal expert field of probate and legal counseling in reference to wills, living trusts, and different things like that. And just let me give you a little information like I usually do about probate. So basically, probate is a certificate that is issued by court that the will of a deceased is legally valid and that the executors appointed under the will are authorized to administrate his or her estate. Now, the other part of this is that the legal process by which the assets of the deceased are properly distributed, if he or she made a will, to the beneficiaries or heirs through an executor named in the will, or if he or she died without a will. So Ms. Jacqueline is going to give us a little bit more information, but before we get started into that, Ms. Jacqueline, why don't you just say what you do, how long you've been doing it, and give our viewers a good overview of your background.
So, thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate all the viewers that are listening to us now and viewing us. And I hope that the information you receive today, you actually share, because it is very important information, especially if you have any kind of assets in the state of California, okay? Or in any other state, right. But specifically today we're going to focus in California because we are in California, right? But my name is Jacqueline Moya, like he explained, and I've been in the legal field for 19 years, 19 plus, but we'll leave it at 19. And I'm an LTA, legal document assistant, and what I do is I'm formerly known as paralegals, and what we do is we help people who cannot afford attorney representation. We all know that attorneys can get quite expensive, right? And not all of us can afford to hire an attorney full time. So we are the alternative to people who cannot afford, an attorney, but that still need that legal assistance to help prepare all the documents that they need in order to be able to represent themselves in a court appearance.
Now that makes a good point, because sometimes people are hesitant about even reaching out to find out about, legal attorneys or even a legal assistant. So you're like the first step. Now, can you consult with those that come to you, that give you a call?
Yes. So for example, we could give out information that is particular to what any court website might be able to give you. If you have a particular situation, because of the 19 years of experience that I do have in the field and extensive relationships that I have with attorneys, I do have attorneys that, when you come and you sit with me, if I look and review your file, if there is a need for an attorney, I can definitely refer you to affordable attorneys that I have either worked with before or that I have met throughout the years of my experience.
Excellent. So the importance of having a will or living trust, why don't we talk a little bit about that? And with the baby boomers getting to where it's so heavy now that, we're reaching that age, mothers, fathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, so we can give it to the younger ones, the millennials. Let's talk to them a little bit and say, hey, if they don't have, in what age should they be even thinking about?
Well, a living trust should be at any age where you start acquiring assets, regardless of your age.
Now, the assets could be?
The assets could be a home, bank accounts with, a generous amount of income in there, money. It could be properties, it can be business assets. I mean, anything that has value,
Okay.
anything of asset.
And through the years, how this gets accumulated is that it becomes the legacy of the family. So it could come from grandma, grandpa, auntie, uncle, any family member that has passed it on to someone. Now, I spoke in my earlier definition of it is about an executor or beneficiaries. So why don't you speak a little bit towards that of how that works out with the family?
So basically, when someone creates a living trust, what they're doing is they're pretty much putting their assets, anything that they hold of value, they're putting it into this living trust. So now this living trust has trustors, it has executors. So when someone passes away, the trustor that that is in charge of the living trust, once they pass, the executor basically will come to order and bring about all the wishes that the person had that they wanted to happen once they did pass, and they are the people in charge to distribute to all the beneficiaries all the assets that were left behind. And that's when you indicated that they are the people in charge to administer the estate.
Okay. And so when we take all of what you just said and the things that I've talked about in the definition of a meaning of probate, where does probate come into this? Because living trust, will is one thing, but probate is?
So probate is a court process for someone who passes away that does not have anything in order, or a lot of people confuse a will and a living trust. Okay? So a will basically is saying, this is what I want to happen and what I want people to receive once I pass away, right? And a living trust is actually, you are already inheriting in life what it is that the people are receiving. So the difference between a will and a probate is that a will you would still have to go through a probate process in order to be able to ask the judge to allow you to administer the estate. With a living trust, the executor can just administer the estate without having to go through probate.
Very important fact there. And I want the viewers to really understand, because when your mom and pop, get to that age where they can no longer take care of themselves, it's like you don't have to worry about what to do.
Exactly.
In the living trust. With the will, you may have to go through the legal process of court, just so that the court is overseeing that you don't do anything that you have no business doing and get in trouble, and maybe have the law be knocking on your door or something.
Exactly. So I have seen cases where families that are semi upper middle class, and they might have a car that is worth $40,000-$50,000, like maybe like a Corvette or a Ferrari or Lamborghini, Maserati. They're very common now. And so those are assets that have a lot of, it's called equity. So even just for a simple car, you can end up a car here, a car there, anything over I believe it's $150,000. You have to probate.
Okay.
Anything of value over that.
That's very important. Now, the other interesting piece to this puzzle is that you not only serve one community. Now, I know you serve a lot of the Latino community, speak to the Latino community a little bit here and follow up with some English.
So my business is called Libertad Latina. So Libertad Latina was created because, I saw all the injustices that were being, created in my community with the Latino community. So I felt like I had to stand up and help them, because a lot of times there's a lot of controversy with legal assistance in my community. So that's where Libertad Latina came about. Pero para toda mi gente allá afuera que nos está viendo por este video, me gustaría decir que la compañía que yo tengo es Libertad Latina. De lo que estamos hablando ahora es básicamente de los fideicomisos. Yo sé que en nuestro país un fideicomiso tiene que ver mucho con personas que tienen mucho dinero y muchos acentos, pero en el estado de California, tener una casa sencillamente es algo que usted debería de considerar y usted puede contactarlo a él para que él pueda ayudarles y comunicarse conmigo para que yo les pueda ayudar en entender qué es un fideicomiso y por qué es tan importante aquí en este país.
Exactly what she said. And we're going to just take a little break so that I can identify myself. Once again, I'm KAS 411, bringing you an inspiration, motivation, and educational podcast midweek so that you can be inspired in the community to be able to understand. So, who's your realtor? KAS 411, Keith A. Stafford. I help sellers, buyers, investors, anyone that has a question even about probate. You'll see the number at the bottom of your screen, and that's the way to contact me. So I just want to continue on with our conversation with Miss Jacqueline here, and she's very fluent in what she does language-wise, but she doesn't just only help Latinos. She helps each and every one of us. So let's talk about that.
So basically, my heart when I first started my company was with the Latino community because of all the injustices that were being brought upon my community. But I help everyone,
Okay.
anyone who needs help, anyone, we cannot all afford attorneys. Do we want to hire an attorney? Of course we do. Can we afford to hire an attorney? Not all the time. So there are cases where we don't need one, and there are cases where we definitely need one.
Okay.
But I'm about helping whatever's going to be best for the client.
Right.
So if I look at your case and feel you need an attorney, I currently work with about 10 different law firms that I can refer you to.
Excellent. And see, when I met Miss Jacqueline a few months ago, she did a presentation for our Realty One group here in Anaheim. And I was very impressed with how she had the knowledge, the skills, and ability to be able to, first of all, make the presentation, but talk within the presentation about how she can help each and every one of us. Because like I said, it's part of life. We are born, we live our life, and at some point, we're going to die. So it's not something that we always like to talk about. It gets sensitive, but there is a process at the end for us to be able to handle that, and this is how it happens with the information that Jacqueline has given us today.
And if I can add to that,
Yes.
Keith, a lot of people think like, oh, well, I'm young, I don't need to think about this. But I've had cases where, it's been young parents, people who have just recently purchased a home, and, it's they car accidents, heart attacks, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 25-year-olds, so unfortunately, like you said, death is not something we like to talk about,
Right.
but it's something that we definitely are guaranteed.
Right.
Life and death.
Absolutely.
So I always tell my clients, I know you don't want to think about it, but unfortunately, if there's two things in life we cannot get away with is death and taxes.
There you go. That's what it is. Now, see, what we think about, and that even in the real estate industry, as I look at, new homeowners, young homeowners, first-time home buyers, once you acquire that home, that is a good point of even sitting down and looking at a will, because if something should happen to either spouse, where it will go, the proceeds or the assets of the home, like you said, the automobiles, the bank accounts. So that's something to start even thinking about at that young age once you get married and looking at having a family and where it's going to end up with.
And you know what, Keith, now you're starting to see a lot of people in relationships, that are not married,
Okay.
but they're still purchasing homes,
Together.
At least when you're married, that if you purchase a home together, your spouse automatically receives your half,
Good
right?
point. Good point.
But when you're not married, when you're just living with someone, that person does not automatically get the same benefits that a spouse does.
Okay.
So it's extremely important that they look into how to plan their estate, once they are, and those people, if you guys need to refinance or anything like that, reach out, because all those people, I'm sure, do not have a living trust or anything in order, and this is the time to do it.
Absolutely, because I just recently worked on, and through my career, 17 years of experience in the real estate industry, I have worked on significant other partnerships, domestic partnerships. There's actually a legal process to go through with the state of California where you get a certificate, and either you're paying medical expenses of the other, or it's just all encompassing of being able to have a process, a legal process of how you are able to handle that death in a family that ends up happening, or being incapacitated if something should happen to you and you end up paralyzed, or something to a degree where you can no longer handle the affairs of your everyday life. So that's fairly good. Jacqueline, I just want to say thank you so very much. There's so much more that we can talk about and have so many more hours in the day, but we're just giving you a shot in the arm with our KAS 411 podcast of inspiration, motivation, and education here so that the community can have a place to find me. Like I said, there's a number at the bottom of the screen. Give me a call. I can put you in touch with Miss Jacqueline, and we work together on several cases and several transactions. So have a great week. Remember, who's your realtor? KAS 411, Keith A. Stafford. I'm called the homeowner educator of the community. See you next time. Peace out.
Yes. Philadelphia love.